Hey guys, it's Jen, and this time I am bringing you a 12 by 12 layout that I completed just yesterday. And this paper was kind of old, and I kept it specifically for layouts of our dog Emma, who has been gone now for 3 years. But newsflash, we are getting a puppy in a couple of months, so finally going to have a puppy again. She was a miniature schnauzer, and that's what we're going to get this time too, another girl. So I'm pretty excited about that, but we're waiting to see how many puppies the mama dog has. So I'm just layering some papers here, and this was some vellum that came with the paper pad. And I just thought it was really pretty with all the flowers on it, so I wanted to make sure I got some of it on there. In the very beginning, you saw that I had put that white piece of cardstock on top of the paper there with the scalloped edge around it, and I ended up cutting out the middle of that paper, and that's the peach piece that you see there on the right hand side, just to do some extra layers. I didn't want to waste it, but I did want to break it up with some of the white cardstock. It's like a cream. And now I'm just working on my layers and trying to figure out which way I want to put things. And I also cut out that little banner out of another piece of the vellum that's in there. So I'm getting some of these things adhered down, and in that tray there on the right hand side you see a bunch of little tidbits that I had picked out that I thought I was going to use. And that was one of the jars that were in one of the vellum papers. And they also had a paper, like a regular paper version of it, so I put them on top of each other and stapled them. And here I'm going to use some of that flowered, I was just looking at it, but I do end up actually doing it later. Oh, or now. So I wanted to get a little bit of extra background going on that jar there, so I'm just trimming that flowered vellum the size of the jar, and then I'll just staple that in place as well. And I love those little, I think they're cutter bee scissors with the no stick coating on them. They are super sharp, and I love to use those to make my banner edges because they don't rip. Some scissors that are thicker and not as sharp, whenever you cut into the paper to make your banner edge, I feel like it rips it instead of stops cutting where the tip of the scissors are. But those scissors there specifically work really well for making banner edges. So here I'm using some gray Memento ink and just inking up the edges of these little pieces, and then I'm going to layer them underneath the photo. So I know I haven't been on YouTube for a while. I mean, I've been watching videos, I just haven't been making any, and I haven't really felt very crafty. This is the first layout that I've done in quite a while, and I almost had to force myself to sit down and do it. I don't know what's happening, but I have this whole room full of supplies, and I'm not really feeling very crafty. And I think a lot of it has to do with stress, like just work stress, life stress. And usually crafting for me is more of like a creative outlet, like a therapy in itself, but I get sometimes in situations where I'm just so stressed that I can't even think about sitting down and crafting. Like, it's easier to just sit down and read a book or watch TV and veg out in front of the TV. So, and here I'm just finding a little sticker to cover up that edge of the white underneath because it looked kind of odd. And now I'm deciding that I wanted to use a doily there to add a little bit of decoration towards the top. So I ended up taking the sticker back off, and luckily they're like vellum stickers, so they peel up pretty easily. So I get this where I want it and get it adhered down, and then I'll add that sticker back on. Sort of making like a, a place to put my, oh, I ripped my nail, that's not good, girls, to put my title. I like to have a little bit of something behind it, as a grounding element. So that's what I'm working on here. in the picture of Emma, you know, her little head's cut off, and I'm not sure what happened there, but this was a day when my husband and I had gone for a drive and taken her for a walk up in the mountain, and he got some firewood for our campfire, and then we had a campfire that night. So it's a really good memory, and I'm glad that we, you know, thought to take a picture, because it wasn't too long after this that she got sick and didn't bounce back. So yeah, now over here I'm working on trying to decide what I'm going to do with that sort of awkward space, and I know that what I've just done there isn't going to work, and I'm looking all over this sticker sheet for something else that might work, and I'm thinking, well, maybe if I put some enamel dots, these are my homemade ones, I think, you know, if I move those stickers around or sort of jostle things around, I might be able to make something interesting. And then I just decide, okay, I need to pull these up and rearrange stuff and find something else to cover up that edge. I think about this banner, but it just seems kind of awkward. And I know I want to use the banner because I think they add a little bit of whimsy to a page, but it just wasn't working. I thought, well, maybe if I, you know, sort of hooked it in a couple different places and sort of had it draping, you know, up and then back down, but it just wasn't quite long enough for that, and it just, I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. So I decided against that, and then I do end up finding, oh, excuse me, I do end up finding, now how many of you yawned? Okay, if you yawned, give me a thumbs up. I'll tell you what, because I hear somebody yawning, and then I immediately start yawning, even if I'm not tired. That's just weird, I know. Now, my husband doesn't do that. I can yawn all I want, and it doesn't make him yawn. So go figure that one out. Okay, so back to the layout. So I found this floral sticker. I end up cutting it, because I only need like a little bit to stick out there, and I didn't want to worry about ripping everything up to try to get that whole thing under there. And I think, well, maybe I can use the rest of that sticker somewhere else, you know, on another layout. So I just stuck it on the lid of that, and then I'll put it back on the sticker sheet. So that flower works pretty well to cover up that spot. And then I think I'm going to start on my title. Yep. I had gone through my thickers, and I was debating on whether to use these or a different actual like letter shaped thicker, but I went with these. They're just really easy because they just line up. I will say though that the S is not quite as tall as the rest of the letters, which is kind of odd, and they were like all falling off this sheet. Now we all know that that happens quite a bit, and I don't mind, you know, gluing them onto the layout, but what I do mind is whenever I go to put it back in the container and they're all like sticking everywhere and falling out, like it drives me insane. And I had like a huge battle with this, and I can't remember if I clipped that part out of the video or not, but wow, it was like I was like 5 seconds away from like just throwing it across the room because it was really aggravating to me. So anyway, here I've got it on my wax paper, and I just want to see where I want to put it, if it looks right there. Oh no, yawn number 2. Okay, did you yawn again? Okay, so now we're back to, I've got that awkward little space below where the P and the R is, so I'm looking for something that I might be able to put there, and I do end up finding another little banner sticker that doesn't say anything, it's just the same color, like light minty teal, and then I end up using that before I adhere those letters down. So hopefully eventually I'll find it, and oh, here, my goodness, yeah, so I went into the wood veneers thinking maybe I could find something in there. I don't know what in the world I thought I was going to find. Should have cut this part out, sorry everybody, because I end up not finding a wood veneer, and then I go back to the sticker sheet, and it's like, you feel like 12 years go by, and then finally, I do find something. There we go. But yeah, it took like forever. And it's not quite long enough to fit there because it's either sticking over too far to the left and it's too far away from the picture, or it's, if I put it over close to the picture, like a little bit of the doily was sticking out at like the banner edge and it looked really awkward. So I rearranged, I moved the doily just a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the letters down. I put them down and realized, obviously, at that point that they are absolutely not going to stick. But it was a good idea that I put them down first, because then I could just pick up each letter and glue it and put it back in its place, rather than trying to do them left to right, because then once they're glued down, if you have them in the wrong place, that's a real bummer. So I'm pressing, thinking it's going to be good, and then, yeah, I realized that it's going to need some glue. So here's me trying to put this back in the container, and I'm glad that you can't hear what I was saying eventually, because I'm sure it wasn't, you know, the most wholesome of comments. Let's just say it was a bad moment for me, because everything kept sliding off and getting like all attached to each other, and then I would try to slide it in, then more would fall out, and I seriously was just about ready to scream bloody murder. But, you know, it is what it is. I am who I am. I'm Irish, so I have a bit of a temper, and, you know, I mean, look, they're just everywhere. They're just everywhere. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I seriously don't know why I'm dealing with this. Like, I shouldn't have to deal with this stupid pack of letters. But, you know, why I didn't cut it out of the video, we'll never really know, I guess. I guess I'm not so good at the editing. But, you know, hey, I'm not a professional. I'm not an editor. I just make YouTube videos because I think there's maybe at least one person who might enjoy my video and want to give me a thumbs up. I don't know. We'll see. So here, I'm going to go with the banner. And for me, banners, like I said, add a little bit of whimsy. And what I've learned is that you're better off to just put them where you want them and tape it to the back. That way, when you hold it up, hold the layout up, and it hangs down naturally. And then you can just put a tiny little dot of glue under like the middle little banner to keep it from like, you know, going all over the place. So that's what I end up doing after I glue the letters down. So here's what I mean by just being able to pick them up and put them back where they were that way. Okay, so I cut that part out, but oh, whatever. So now I'm just adding some enamel dots and, yeah, putting, you know, 3 different sizes in varying little clusters as we like to do. And luckily these don't need glued down more than the adhesive on the back. That would be a pain, right? So, looking. Yep, decided to change the color on that one because I felt like it needed a little bit of the minty color down there rather than the cream. So there we go. We've got our enamel dots. So I'm just taking, oh, I'm still doing enamel dots. Oh my goodness. You know, when you're doing this editing thing, it's kind of hard to see because the picture is sort of hidden under this little bar that says recording, so I can't really see what's happening under there. Not the best design, iMovie. Okay, here comes the tiny little dot of glue. Tiny little dot of glue. Right there. Okay, so that's that. Alright, so up here you will get some close-up pictures. Thank you very much for watching and hanging in there with me. I know I can be kind of silly sometimes. And if you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Or just, you know, leave me a comment and let me know how you've been. Haven't talked in a while. Alright, bye-bye.